On this story, Dr. Mark Meirowitz is Associate Professor of Humanities at SUNY Maritime College in New York. Professor, always a pleasure seeing you. Firstly, Vladimir Putin said he would withdraw his troops from the Ukraine border, but there's still a significant Russian presence there. What exactly is the U.S. Message to Russia, and how far is Washington willing to go to support Ukraine?
I think the message is a very weak message. It is not a very strong message at all. When the Ukrainians asked for military assistance, Blinken responded to President Zelensky saying, that's the Department of Defense's job. They'll get to it and they'll deal with it. This is an urgent situation, a calamity. The United States is hesitating here. They're combining this issue of the sovereignty of Ukraine with anti-corruption meetings in Ukraine, and the two of those are not, in my opinion, certainly anti-corruption is very important, but this is a crisis that Russia has amassed hundreds of thousands of troops on the border. That's a world-level crisis. Now then he withdraws troops. So in other words, he's really trying to test the United States and test the reaction of the United States to outright aggression. Russia invaded Crimea. It now has troops, as you say, in the separatists in the Donbass. This is an act of war. So I mean, what is the technicality here that we're trying to understand in terms of American action? America needs to act. NATO needs to act. NATO did nothing when the Russians invaded Crimea, and the time for reaction is now. And not telling the Ukrainians, oh, the Defense Department will get to it when they get to it.
Yeah, you mentioned
they need the assistance.
You mentioned corruption meetings. We'll get to that in a second. But
Sure.
Frankly, what will the U.S. do if Russia invades Ukraine?
Well, I mean, they asked this question to Secretary Blinken, and his answer was, well, we're going to try to take action to make sure that's not going to happen. I mean, I'm not going to predict one way or the other. I mean, you can actually analogize the situation with Ukraine to the situation with Taiwan and China. It's actually interesting. I know it seems a little offbeat, but it's correct, because China considers Taiwan to be part of Communist China, and Russia considers Ukraine to be part of Russia because it was always part of the Russian Empire. So in other words, there's a tactical game going on here with Russia's trying to probe and push against the United States to see what the reaction is going to be. I don't believe that Russia is going to enter into full-scale aggression at this juncture, because the fear, I think, on their part would be the United States would overreact and actually take a very strong reaction and commit troops and do something about it. NATO also has to be on board. So I think he's playing a game. And, this was a very interesting lecture I heard from Fiona Hill, a former advisor in National Security Council. She said that, they're not chess players, the Russians. They play cards. They have a very poor hand. They're not very powerful, but they try to bluff. And this is part of their poker game, their card game here. Put the troops in, take the troops out. But notice, what did the United States do in the Black Sea? They pulled back, the United States pulled back our warships. That was a very, very poor move on the part of the United States. We're afraid of escalating the tensions. We're letting the Russians have the first move. A very, very bad idea. And, and look, the Russians understand sanctions. They don't like it. But the United States needs to take these actions and to supply defensive equipment to Ukraine immediately. This is not something that gets put into a memorandum and gets filed away. That's inappropriate. That statement had to be stronger. We're going to help you. Because if they don't say that, then the Russians, now they're going to put the troops back, take them out again. They have control of the situation. And that is untenable. That's an destabilizing situation.
Unfortunately, I'll have to wrap the interview, but Professor, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.